So people keep asking me, Kev, what's the best RC car? What's the best servo? What's the best radio? So in this video, I'm going to give you my opinion. And opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one and they all stink. Oh, right. So not your usual entertaining video. In this video, there's going to be a lot of waffling. So if waffling is not your thing, then click up here and I'm going to put a playlist to some more sort of action-packed videos. So in this video, hopefully, you're going to learn something. Hopefully I can share with you some of the advice that I've had so you can pick some like the right products and save yourself a load of money and a load of hassle by buying stuff that maybe isn't any good. And talking about money, now is maybe the best time to start your home-based business. Now we're a lot of the world on lockdown and many traditional stores going bankrupt, many people being out of work. A lot of home-based businesses actually now make more money than what they did before this lockdown stuff. And now with all the free time that a lot of people have on their hands, now could be the perfect time to learn a new skill and to build that home-based business and make more money than they've ever dreamed of. So I'm going to put a link down below to one of my eBay programs. So all of this is just in my opinion. You're entitled to your opinion too. So if you agree or disagree with any of my selections of anything, then give me a comment down below. And also, if you want to know where any of this stuff where you can buy it from, or you want to know the full techno babble, the specifications, all that stuff, I want to keep this video as quick as I possibly can. So I'm going to put links down below so you can click on that link and see all the info of that product. Alright, so first of all, let's jump in. What is the best RC car? And that is a difficult one to answer because there's so many different types and so many different styles and they've all got pros and cons. So the best all round, I would say, is the mighty X-Max. This has been my favourite RC car since I started this channel, so about 4 years now. And it's not the best at everything, but probably the best all round. It's durable, it's fast, it does the stunts well, you can drive it on 2 wheels, you can jump it high, it's easy to work on, it's easy to get parts. All round, I would say this is the best, but it's not the best at everything. Because if we have a look at the Armour Creighton 8S, for example, oh! It's faster, it jumps further, jumps higher, and it's better around the track. But it's also got pros and cons. But I would still say my favourite one is the X-Max. When it comes to ultimate durability and something that can just take a complete and utter beating, it has to be a modified Armour Creighton. And there's too much to go over all the modifications here. So if you click on the link up here, I'm going to put a link down below as well. You can see the full specifications of this car. When it comes to the best, first, or most affordable RC basher that's actually good, I would say it's the Armour Outcast 4S. Oh, it takes it. Or the Creighton 4S, or actually any of the Armour 3S and 4S cars. They're all kind of on the similar platform. They've got the plastic chassis, the spare parts are very cheap, they're durable, they're relatively inexpensive to buy. And I know some people have given me grief before for calling these things budget RC. But if you compare it to something like the Raminator or the X-Max, or even the 6S Creighton, or even some of these cars here, then it definitely is, in my opinion, a budget RC car. Best speed car, the fastest, hands down, is the Traxxas X01. And by fastest, I mean fastest out of the box. These do 100 mile an hour straight out of the box. When it comes to the most fun and the best handling, it's got to be the Armour Infraction. Now guys, I know that you might say, Kev, what about the Limitless? I don't have everything, so this opinion is only based on stuff that I've actually got. And for an on-road car, I would say that Armour Limitless is probably about as much fun as you can have. This will do 80 mile an hour right out of the box. You can smoke the tyres, it handles well, it drifts, it looks good. I mean, I really can't fault it. Crawler-wise, the absolute ultimate must be the Traxxas TRX4. I know people say, what about the SCX10? What about the Red Cat? What about this? What about that? For one, I don't have those cars. And secondly, I mean, what else? I mean, there is now, but, you know, this thing's got portal axles, it's got high and low gear transmission, we've got diff locks, and it's crazy, crazy durable. This one here, I've had it at the skate park. Perfect backflip! Yeah! He landed a backflip! This is a crawler, guys, that's amazing! Oh! I've had it at a BMX track, we've been jumping it, I've been doing speed runs with it, crashing it, bouncing it off of stuff, and this thing takes an absolute and utter beating. The gears, the transmission is 100% stock, and I've never broken any of it. So, you know, maybe a spur gear, I've done a plastic spur gear, but apart from that, it's been perfect. And I know there's like the SCX10 with the portal axles and the Red Cats and all that stuff, but if anybody can show me an RC crawler that can take this sort of punishment, and is this capable, then let me know. And then there's also the other TRX4, this is the Sport, so we have the full-time locked up diffs, and also just a single speed transmission. When it comes to the best cheap crawler, I would say it's the RGT. I forgot the name of it, but I'm going to put a link down to it anyway down there. I'm just going to call it the RGT. But to me, when it comes to ultimate wow factor, and ultimate just complete and epic, take your breath away, it's just got to be the Raminator. Just the size of it, and just what it can do. I mean, it's not the fastest, it's never going to jump the highest, but this thing is ginormous. Look at the size of it! Look at that, here it is, compared to a Traxxas Rustler 4x4. I mean, this thing is just an absolute beast. And when you're driving it, it's just a completely and utterly different experience. The sound of it, the size of it, the weight, just the whole thing. And it's just got to be the coolest looking thing. And it's the one that just turns heads everywhere. Even when people are not into RC, they come over and ask questions. They want to know about it. So for me, what puts the biggest smile on my face, and which is always my case with everything, is the best car, or the best RC car, or the best toy, is whichever one puts the biggest smile on your face. And for me, that is 100%, hands down, the Raminator. The only thing that lets it down, it's obviously not that practical. The parts are expensive. It's a little bit more harder to work on. So, you know, the best all-round X-Max, the most fun, ultimately, it just has to be this one. So next we have my favourite radio, and they've all got pros and cons. So the absolute ultimate one that I've ever used is this Sanwa M12S. Now this one's here for racing, and they're around about, I think they're over $500 or something crazy like that. And the build quality isn't actually that great. It does feel quite plasticky. But the reason why the racers like this, and I used to do a lot more racing, I've got one of them up there, I used to have touring cars and nitro buggies and all that stuff. But the reason that most racers like this is because it's so fast. It's got like the fastest response of any radio. But, you know, for bashing, we don't need to be that extreme, so I'm going to kind of set this one aside. So next, we got the Traxxas radio. What I like about this one is just its simplicity. It's just so easy to use. You can bind it to multiple memories, to multiple models, and you don't have to flick between model memories. It's all kind of built in. When you turn on a new model, it kind of knows. It goes to that model memory. And you can go onto the app, you can make all settings on there and stuff. So, you know, for a radio that comes with a car, I mean, I wouldn't go out there and buy this specifically, but for a radio that comes with a ready-to-run car, this is probably my favourite one. I mean, the range isn't that great. I mean, that's the only thing that lets it really down. If it had a longer range, it would be lovely. So the next radio, if you want something with rear wheel steer, is this Spectrum DX5C. And what I like about this, you can program these switches here. So for example, on the Raminator, I've got the front steering as normal, and then the rear steer, I've got it on a separate toggle switch like that. And I know people always say, why don't you program it so that when you steer, it does the front and the rear steering at the same time? You can do it that way, but I don't like it that way. I like to be able to do it independently. I don't want to be bombing down the road full speed, steering, and the rear steer just kicks in. And the same as when you're crawling. When you're crawling, sometimes it's nice just to have the normal steering, and then you can just use the rear steer just to get the back end back into line. If it's all together, then sometimes you can put the rear end where you don't want it. So, you know, and if you look at a real monster truck, they've got a separate toggle switch. And people always argue with me, no, don't do it like that. You're doing it wrong. Guys, it's a hobby. Whichever way puts the biggest smile on your face, that's the way you're meant to do it. And this is the way that I want to do it, so that's the way that I'm going to do it. If you want to program it and have it your way, you do it your way. Next up, we've got the Fly Sky Noble. So this one here it's not dirt cheap, but it's a very good price. And for ultimate build quality, this feels like the best radio that I've ever felt in the hand. You know, you compare it to this, which is like probably like 5 times the price or 4 times the price. This just feels really plasticky. You know, it probably feels about the same quality as this cheapy sort of Spectrum one here, or maybe even the Traxxas one. But this thing here, this really feels like a bit of quality. We've got a colour screen. Let me just turn that on. So you've got a colour screen. It's super easy to program this. You just hit on the button. It's a bit like a smartphone. It's just so easy. You know, if you want to assign channels, it's just the easiest radio to operate. Everything is just so self-explanatory. It's made of metal. The plastic is really high quality, and it's got a lot of features to this as well. You can turn this thing around for left and right-handed. I mean, when it comes to ultimate build quality and best value for money, it's probably got to be this one. Now, when it comes to the one that I recommend the most, all round, everything considered, it's got to be the Dumbo RC. Now, these really are dirt cheap. Depending, the prices vary sometimes. Sometimes it's $20, sometimes it's $30. But this is 6 channels. It's got a built-in gyro onto the receiver. But the thing I like most about this is just this immense range. I've never seen a radio that has got such a long range. I think they claim like 500 meters, and I've tested it and it actually went further. It's crazy fast response. So I cannot tell the difference between these. On paper, this one's a little bit faster, I think. And, you know, for people paying like $500 to get the speed of this, when you can pay $20, $30 and get something that's just as fast. I mean, it's just crazy. And then you can assign this switch here to a servo, so you can have this as your rear wheel steer. The only drawback is this one doesn't self-center. It's a 3-position switch. What I like about the Spectrum one, it sort of goes back to center. The other good thing is that you can bind it to an unlimited amount of these receivers, and these receivers are dirt cheap. I think they're around about $10. So you could have 100 of these, bind them all to this radio, and then that radio is going to work with all of those receivers, and you can sort of have, you know, all of your RC cars all with the same receiver, and all you need to take out with you is one controller. The only downside is that this has no model memories. You know, with all of these ones here, we've got model memories. With this one here, we haven't. But it's not such a big deal, because literally you plug it in, and then if, you know, one of the servos go the wrong way, you just got to flick a couple of switches, just do the servo reverses, maybe do your endpoint adjustment, and then you're going to be good to go. So, you know, everything's got pros and cons, but when it comes to dirt cheap and performance, it's just got to be this one here. And that's actually the radio that I use on my fastest RC car, the 100 mile an hour Traxxas X01. I've tried different radios and they just haven't got the range. This one here was the only one that I've tried that actually goes all the way down the street. And I've had it so often when we're trying to do like a long jump competition, we're trying to get a big run up, and it just runs out of range. So that's kind of like a massive letdown. So I know the radios that come with the armour cars now, they're not the best, you know. The range isn't that great. They're really slow response. They're just an awful radio. People really don't like them. So this here could really be the ideal candidate for a replacement. So don't forget, link to the Dumbo radio down below, and also where you can get all the receivers. Next up, servos, and here we are really taking price into considerations. You can get crazy with servos, and you can spend like over a couple of $100. You can go really mad. And for bashing, it doesn't really make sense to put a crazy expensive servo in your car, because you're probably going to crash it, you're probably going to kill it anyway, and you just want to chuck something in there that's cheap to replace. So when it comes to ultimate cheapness, but still good, because, you know, often buy cheap, you buy twice. But this really isn't the case with this servo, the KS3518. I've got this servo here in many of my crawlers. I've got it into this one here. I've got it, I think I've got it in that one. I've got it in some other crawlers as well. I've even tried this in a couple of bashers now, and it performs absolutely perfectly. It's fully metal geared. I've never killed one of these. All of these servos that I've ever tried, they've all behaved absolutely perfectly. So full metal geared. They're also waterproof. And the price of these is just insane. You know, we're looking at around about $10-ish, something like that. And even when it comes to speed, they're fairly fast. I'd say they're medium. They're definitely a lot faster than a stock servo that comes with like an armor. But, you know, they're not going to be as fast as some of the higher end ones. If you want something faster and with a little bit better build quality, I would go with a JX Eco Boost. So I've been using these for a while now, and they do different kg rating ones. So I'm going to put a link to some of these down below. You know, some of them are like 21 kilos. Some of them, I think this one here is like 36 kilos or something crazy. Obviously, the higher you go with the kilos, you lose a bit of speed. So if you're going to put something like this into, say, something like a 10th scale rustler, look at the speed of that servo. I would maybe go with a 21 kilo one, and then if you're going to put something into a bigger one, you know, you can still put a 21 kilo one in one of these, but maybe if you was to put one in an X-Max, maybe you want to go for the 36 kilo one. You know, it all varies. But I'm going to put a link to all of these down below. The 21 kilo one's the cheapest one, and probably the one that's going to be the best for the most part. It's going to work in almost everything. 36 kilo is probably a bit overkill for most stuff, so I'd rather go with the speed. Now, I have killed a couple of these in the Armour Creighton 8S, because this thing just, it jumps so high. And me being me, I land it on concrete on the skate parks and stuff, and it's had so many hard landings. And the trouble is, with these Armours, and with a lot of other RC cars, they've got a metal chassis, and when you land them hard, the chassis just slams on the floor, and you may as well just be getting the servo and just throwing it on the floor as hard as you can, multiple times. That's pretty much what you're doing. And by doing that, I have killed a couple of these, but I've also killed many other servos. I'm still in the hunt of a servo that will take that kind of abuse. You know, and electronics, they're just electronics. There's a circuit board in there, the stuff's all soldered to it. When you do giving stuff that sort of abuse, the components on there are eventually going to fracture, and it's going to break. So I think it just is me just going way too extreme. But, you know, I think it's worth mentioning. If I have broken something, I should mention it just to be fair. Best cheap 1/5 scale petrol or gas powered RC has got to be the Roven Baja. These used to be about $300, sometimes they're a bit more, sometimes they're a bit less. But for all out value, that's got to be the best. Next, Lipo batteries. And in my experience, there's so many different types out there and so many different prices. And, you know, you can get some that are really expensive and you can get other ones that are crazy cheap. And from my experience, you do not have to go out and spend the crazy money. Because, yes, there are some Lipos that are bad. I've had bad Lipos before, and you know when a Lipo's bad is because they puff up. And if they drop a cell, if you get a voltage meter and you plug it in and they're always, you know, they're out of balance, you know that's a bad Lipo. And also if one starts puffing up, you're going to know it's a bad Lipo. So those are the sort of batteries that I stay away from. So Gens Ace, a brilliant battery. I've had these for over a year now, and they've performed absolutely perfectly, but they are expensive. So I've also tried Fluions. I've had good results with these, but I have had a few die over the time. So when it comes to my favourite pick now, it's the Zop Power Lipos. So these are the soft case ones. I've got a 4-cell one here. This is the one that I run in the X-Max. I've got a 3-cell one here. So this could be one that maybe you run in like a TRX4 or maybe in like a Armour Creighton 6S, something like that. You run two of them, a 6S. And then I've got a smaller one here, which you can use in the Traxxas TRX4, or in some of the other RCs, they've got a slightly smaller battery tray. But so far, these to me have performed absolutely perfectly. I've never ever had one puff, and they've taken an absolute hiding. They've got loads of power, they've got loads of punch, they're dirt cheap. The cells, so far for me, they have all balanced absolutely perfectly, and I cannot fault these in any way. I've heard stories of people saying, oh, I've had one blow up before. But then I've heard stories of expensive lipos blowing up too. You know, if you don't look after your lipos, you're at risk of them dying. And even if you do look after them, there's still no guarantee that they're going to survive. So I would recommend never leave lipos in your house. Definitely never charge them in your house. I would always leave them near something not flammable. So for me, I'll keep them in this metal box here, and I can shut the door. So if one catches fire, yeah, the whole lot's going to go, but it's contained inside this box. And then also, it's not near anything flammable, so it shouldn't really spread. I probably shouldn't have that plastic pot there, but anyway, it should be contained. Now, I have had one of these Zop powers die. This one here, one of the cells died, but that was my fault. I left it fully charged for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then one of the cells died. When you're finished with running a Lipo battery, always put it on your charger and always put it straight back onto storage mode, which is like a 50% charge. And then that way they're safe. If you leave a Lipo fully flat, they're going to die. And if you leave it fully charged, they're going to die even quicker. That's the worst thing you can do for a Lipo, is leave it fully charged. And then when you're going to run it, just charge it right before you're going to run it. So that's why I've got one of these 4-way chargers here, so I can charge 4 lipos at the same time. So literally, if I want to go out, I charge it right before I want to go. Even if you charge it the night before, that's still going to be damaging your batteries. While the batteries are getting damaged is while they're sitting there fully charged. So, you know, that's the quickest way to kill a battery. So I'm going to put a link to all of these batteries down below. And next, the charger. This is a Dynamite Profit Sport Quad. So as I said, I can charge 4 different lipos at the same time. We've got 100 watt per channel. And for me, this has been the best, for the price, charger that I've had. I know you can get much better chargers and they're a lot more expensive. You can also get cheaper ones, and I've had cheaper ones that have died before. So for me, the best overall charger, and the one that I use all of the time, is this one here. And there's going to be a link to that down below too. Man, what a lot of waffling. So this is definitely not an entertaining video. This video is more just to help some of you guys choose what equipment you want to use. Also, I just want to say I have tried the Zop Power hard case lipos, and they were completely unbalanced, and I tried to balance charge them and they just wouldn't come up to charge, and that was 2 packs that I had and they were both the same. Also, Ian had a couple of these and they were bad, so I gave mine to Pat. Pat actually balanced them for like a very long time, and they've been actually okay to him. So in my experience, they were bad. But there's others out there that had a good experience, but I'm not going to recommend something that I've had a bad experience from. But they are dirt cheap, so what do you expect? Speed controller wise, you've kind of got the Hobby Wing stuff and the Castle stuff. Which one's best? I like them both. You know, they've both got pros and cons. Steve, he swears by Hobby Wing. I kind of like both. So I've got a Hobby Wing Max 6 inside the X Max, but that's only because it fits in there perfectly. The Castle ones, the 8S ones, they seem a little bit bigger, don't fit in there quite as nice. When we get into 1/10 scale, here we got the Hobby Wing Max 10, and here we got the Castle Mamba X. So the Castle Mamba X has got loads more power. This can take 6S lipo. This one here can only take 4-cell lipo. But, you know, when you're getting to something that's like a 10th scale, then 4-cell is like more than enough. But they're both good. On this scale, I'm probably leaning slightly towards the Castle one because, you know, I like more power. Man, check out that body on the Traxxas Rustler 2-wheel drive. And also, this epic looking custom painted Traxxas / 4x4 body done by my buddy Alan. I mean, check that out, all airbrushed. It looks absolutely amazing. And then when it comes for the best speed controller or combo for a crawler, you've got the Hobby Wing Axe system, and you've also got the Castle Mamba X system. So this is the same ESC that I've actually got in my / 4x4. If you want to go for all-out power, then 100% go with the Castle. I mean, the power of this is absolutely insane. This can take 6S lipo, and although the motor isn't rated for 6S, I've put 6S through it a lot of times and it's been fine. Now, if your goal is to do better crawling, and yes, this is a crawler, then the Hobby Wing Axe system is going to be the better one. So the motor is fully waterproof. You can fully submerge this underwater. The water's not going to get in there. I've had these motors underwater, and although they say they're splash proof, the water gets in, and I've killed a couple of these motors now because the water's got in there. So if you're going to be running it in the wet, this motor is hands down going to be the motor to go for. Also, the sensor lead is a waterproof connection. On this one here, it's just like your regular one, so the water gets in there, it starts cogging. And then perhaps the best feature of this is just how smooth it is to crawl. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, you've really got to have a go on it to kind of know. But literally, you hold the trigger at a certain position, and it's going to sort of move really, really slowly. And then when it gets to an obstacle, it's going to automatically feed in more power to keep the speed constant. Even if you put it up against a wall, I mean, and you just put a tiny bit of power on there, it's just going to keep feeding in more power so that the wheels just keep going at a constant speed. And if you completely lock it up, it's probably going to keep going until you like strip a gearbox or something. So yeah, when it comes to crawler combo, I would say the Hobby Wing Axe, but if you want ultimate power, then go for the Castle. So next video, we're going to talk about the best toys that you can use indoors, inside your house in this quarantine period. So this video's long enough now. I've waffled for long enough. I'm all waffled out. So for now, check out some of these other videos and I will see you over there in a minute. And also links to all of this stuff that we've looked at down below. Alright guys, see you soon. Bye.